I had some of our affiliates who couldn't make it email some questions they wanted to cover, and they'll be sharing this particular webinar during their lunch and learn. So I have a few, let's see, one, two, three, about four questions I will be covering at the end for two of our architecture firms and two of our engineering firms. Alrighty, so let's kick things off. Right now, today, we're going to be looking at, why become an affiliate. So many folks have joined our affiliate program. We've got hundreds of firms nationwide. So we're going to talk to you about what makes a good affiliate. Is that going to be right for you, for the company you represent? Is it going to be right for your clients or end users that you serve at the end of the day? How to become an affiliate. And we're going to show you two affiliate case studies. As always, our etiquette here at IncentiFind is, keep your questions high level. We deal with a lot of confidential real estate and construction projects. We are so lucky that our, customers at the end of the day, our developers, our owners, our tenants, and our architecture, engineering, and general contractors allow us to share their projects at a high level. So just keep your questions at a high level out of courtesy for them. So most folks know, Natalie Goodman speaking here. You've known me or you've spoken to me. If not, here's the 60-second introduction to myself. My background is architecture. I came from the owner's representative side, serving clients such as, NASA at Johnson Space Center, Methodist Hospital and their research group, Johnson & Johnson, Shell Real Estate, Department of Defense, specifically the United States Air Force and National Guard, as well as the United States federal courthouse system. So lots of different owners that I've represented, and the common thread was that I would be there to help embed and drive sustainable measures, equipments, or products to be implemented into all of the assets, so that they could achieve either corporate sustainability goals or government sustainability goals. Also just create higher value for the assets at the end of the day, and reduce monthly operating expenditures such as electric and water bills. So that's kind of my background. And we created IncentiFind, as you can see here, 4 years ago. We're headquartered right here out of Houston, Texas. We operate virtually. I'm going to talk about how we do not have to show up at any of your project sites. We don't even need a seat at the table with your owner. We are geared to respond directly to you, the prospective affiliate or current affiliate, okay? So we were, you can see here, still stand as the nation's only database for these real estate focused incentives. And I think today the biggest takeaway we want you to learn from IncentiFind is how easy it is to leverage our database of incentives to flush cost savings to your owners, to your developers, to your tenants, anyone you're serving with a real estate or construction project. And let's be honest, everyone is looking for cost savings, especially right now, right? The other thing I want to cover is that we are an MBE or WBE certified company. What does that mean? It means we are minority business owned, as well as women business owned. This is at the national level. So if you serve your clients and perhaps they have that box to check, you can certainly leverage IncentiFind. We can certainly help you check that box, showing that you are working with a partner or a subcontractor, however you want to kind of list IncentiFind, that has that minority or women business enterprise qualification. Again, that's in all 50 states. Quick refresher for those who are kind of coming in fresh to IncentiFind. The long and short of it is we've got this, national database of incentives that I'm going to talk about here in a second. And we can connect any property in the United States, whether it's been built or not, maybe it's about to be developed. We can connect any property in the United States to incentives. If you want an idea of volume, there it is on the screen. We do this each year. And the way we connect any property in the United States to incentives is a simple 2-minute survey. I'm going to talk about how majority of our affiliates will fill out our 2-minute survey on behalf of their clients, their developers, their building owners, or their tenants. Because let's be honest, folks, people are busy, right? So you hear me talk about a database of real estate incentives. Where are we coalescing these from? Where are these incentives coming from? We all know that by law or legislative act, several levels of government must give away incentives to promote above code measures. We're going to look at those here in a second. What are those levels of government that have to give away incentives every year? Well, they're the federal government, your state, your county, your city, and your utility level governments, right? This is for gas, electric, and water when it comes to your utility level governments. So we grab all of these incentives offered from 5 levels of government across 50 states, and we make them searchable and relatable to these types of personas. Property owners, so folks with existing assets or existing real estate portfolios. Your developers, maybe they're developing a property and they plan to sell it to an operator within a 3 to 5 year plan. There are specific incentives for them, so we house those. And then tenants, folks always forget that there are incentives specifically geared towards tenants. So if you represent a group that has a lot of leases across the country, there are incentives for their upcoming retrofits or expansions into additional floors or spaces. There's also for any of the developers that you might serve, use our tenant focus incentives to help them attract an anchor tenant. There's just a lot of incentives out there that really can represent significant cost savings for construction projects. All right, for the affiliates listening, have a look at this screen. These are all of the property types that IncentiFind can help your clients with. If any of these look familiar as far as a portfolio that you serve or targeted groups that you serve, our incentives are geared for this. The only types of assets that we are not geared to serve are pure horizontal assets. So golf courses, transportation projects, we don't do any of that. We need to have a vertical permanent building. I emphasize permanent because we did have some folks bring to us some temporary sites that have been, launching across the United States. A great example of this are the COVID temporary sites. No, we don't have incentives for that. It does need to be a permanent asset. So long as you're serving clients that fit anything you see here on the screen and they are permanent, they are vertical, there's going to be incentives for them. Okay. Here's what's in our database. Let's take a sneak peek. No, it's not all encompassing, but I think it's going to give you all a good flavor. Remember, incentives are created by these 5 levels of government. They have to be given away to your end users, your owners, your developers, and your tenants every single year. IncentiFind's here to make sure we reveal them as quickly as possible, right? Let your owners, developers, and tenants capture those cost savings. So first, we have our new construction incentives. They are vastly different than our existing buildings. The two are not the same. What happens, if you have a project, let's take, we were working on a particular hospital for a healthcare client that was brought to us by one of our architecture firms. What happens if you have an expansion of or a new construction building and they're also renovating one of their existing buildings? Then what, IncentiFind? Go ahead, notify us. Yes, we do need to enter 2 separate surveys. You're going to need to access 2 separate sides of our database, right? The new construction side and the existing building. In other words, it is not one size fits all. Rely on IncentiFind to help you navigate some of these nuances and complexities, okay? Once a survey is submitted, again, most of our affiliates are submitting our 2-minute surveys on behalf of their owners, developers, or tenants. Once you've submitted that survey, we're going to scan for opportunities in energy efficiency. This is indoor and outdoor. It is everything from windows, insulation, roof, thermostats, controls, load management programs, outdoor lighting, parking lighting, you name it. It is anything that has to do with energy efficiency. No, we do not just look at lighting rebates. We get asked that so much. You're coming to IncentiFind to reveal the entire landscape of incentives. And trust me, about $10 billion each year goes unclaimed by projects simply because people don't realize how much is out there. Alrighty, we also house renewables. If you're in California, there are mandates for solar. If you've got projects you're serving in Massachusetts, get ready. There's a new mandate for solar coming up there. And you can anticipate more and more states to mandate solar. So we house renewables. It's mostly going to be in the solar area, but we do house geothermal as well, and other types of renewables. Look there, we've got water conservation, the most commonly overlooked incentive. There is a massive drought, if you haven't watched the news, on the western side of the United States, affecting, I don't know, about half a dozen states. It's one of the most extreme droughts that we have seen, so far in our history. We can anticipate more extreme weather events. Water conservation incentives can be extremely lucrative in your drought prone states across any asset type. So we'll look at water conservation indoor and we'll look at it outdoor, okay? So again, the 2-minute survey is going to scan all things energy efficiency, solar where applicable, and water conservation. The other thing our survey is going to scan, now this is going to be only for your developers and your building owners, not really for your tenants because they don't own the building, right? We're going to look at the land the asset sits on. Go ahead and look at the other category. It's not all encompassing, but these are great land related incentives. And we want at IncentiFind to reveal all cost savings incentives to add to that capital stack to create a more well-funded project at the end of the day, right? Because more well-funded projects mean they're going to come to fruition, meaning your services are going to be used, whether it's design, construction, or other types of consulting. Right here on the left-hand side, it's important you guys know what kind of incentives we house. They're going to be tax-related incentives. This is property tax to corporate franchise and sales tax. We have grant programs. We have fee waivers, fantastic for developers, especially right now, addressing any type of housing. There's so many housing shortages in many of our metro areas. We have rebates. Think of rebates as cash reimbursement. So long as your owner installs the LED lighting, the energy efficient chiller or boiler, they can get a cash reimbursement for installing that energy efficient or water conserving equipment. And bill credits. That's mostly seen in our load management programs, or our solar programs. We at IncentiFind not only reveal the incentives based in the categories you see here, but we also tell you what kind of incentive it is. Maybe it's the right fit for your owner, maybe it's not. The last thing I want to note is that our incentives have grown. If you were on our last webinar, they have grown substantially. We went from about 30,000 to almost 300,000. Why is that? Incentives are growing nationwide. You can anticipate state and local governments dusting off their climate policies, their energy efficiency policies, and they are creating new mandates. We need to address this extreme weather that's really plaguing our homeowners, our property owners, our developers, and our tenants across the nation. Alrighty, why are you going to use IncentiFind at the end of the day if you're an affiliate? Maybe you're an architecture firm, an engineering firm, a general contractor. Maybe you're helping in LEED certification, other types of sustainability consultants. Maybe you're in the energy business, or you deal with water conservation software. It doesn't matter if your end users are developers, owners, or tenants. Here's why you're going to use IncentiFind. If you've ever tried to locate incentives in the wild, meaning just a Google search, I'm sure you know how awful that experience was. We actually ran a little test, got one of our interns, and ran a quick test against our 2-minute survey, searching our database, and how quickly this poor intern could find the same results. It was weeks. We basically just put a stop to it. When we unleashed the intern to search Google versus our database had the list of eligible incentives returned within minutes. And this poor intern was still working weeks out just to find the incentives on the internet. What happens when you find an incentive on the internet? Well, you still have to go and locate the latest program manual. A lot of the times that's not going to be up to date. You still need to figure out within that program manual, what's the eligible equipment? Is the program open? The manual doesn't always cover that. What is the red tape associated with this? How much funding is left? What are the next steps to apply? I can tell you the manuals don't cover that. We do. So it's more than just finding the incentives in the wild. It's about curating it in a way that arms you with the right kind of data to have a better conversation with your owner to say, here are some incentives that are going to bring cost savings to your project so that you can achieve your sustainability goals, so that you can afford that HVAC upgrade, so that you can look at more than just the low hanging fruit upgrades for your real estate asset or your construction project, right? The other thing is that there are so many types of nuances that come with incentives. We're here to help you navigate it. An incentive that is for a tenant can't be applied to an owner, vice versa. An incentive for a developer can't be applied to an owner, and vice versa. So we help you with all of the nuances. There are so many out there, and we make it digestible. The last thing I'll kind of hit on is that, we're here to maximize. Look, even if you find an incentive and you kind of have a little bit of experience dealing with that incentive, do you know how to maximize it across a construction schedule? We do. We look at incentives, we live and breathe them every day. And with that 2-minute survey, we already gather the construction timeline, and we can tell you how to double dip, triple dip, how many times you can go after an incentive, so long as it spans the various incentive program years. Okay. So we're here to make it easy. You keep hearing me say affiliates. Let me give you a flavor of just some overarching industries. And if your company resides within these industries or markets, you would absolutely be a great fit for our affiliate program. Okay. If you're in the lending industry, loan officers, especially construction loan officers, we work with many construction, loan officers or lending institutions, right? If you're in the AEC industry, architecture, engineering, general contractors, sustainability firms, lead certification type of firms, we have already several affiliates under our belt that are working with us. Maybe you manage a portfolio on behalf of a group, and you're responsible for helping them plan their next capital improvement project. Maybe you're on the hook for helping them achieve net zero by 2050, which, by the way, most groups that have real estate have set as their goal, because the United States has rejoined the Paris Climate Agreement, right? So we've seen that with many corporations, many companies, large and small, look at their existing real estate portfolio and say, we need to achieve better goals in energy efficiency, water conservation, and renewables where applicable. Maybe you're with a facility maintenance group or operations and maintenance, retro commissioning, all of that, all of those particular services that have to do with maintaining assets. You're a great candidate because you, at the end of the day, know what's on the horizon for these aging assets, right? Buildings age and typically need some major upgrades every 5, 10, definitely at the 15-year mark. By the time you get into 30 years old, you're looking at huge capital improvement costs to keep those facilities up to date. Well, what is the value statement for incentives, or how does everyone benefit from the cost saving incentives in our database? Let's just look at a few. We like this exercise because it just gives a snapshot as to how, it's a blurb that a lot of our affiliates will use when relating to, perhaps it's their owner or developer, even tenant, right? It's really the end user or beneficiary of the incentives. We're here to reduce the cost of their construction project at the end of the day, right? Sometimes we can even help find so much in cost savings that it really helps that project or deal pencil at the end of the day. So we have been able to help fund projects, not entirely from incentives. I don't want to give that notion, but we've brought enough cost savings that that project now can move forward. Whereas without the identification of incentives, it wouldn't have happened. Maybe you're dealing with an owner's representative at the end of the day. This is the hat I used to wear. I can tell you, as a previous owner's rep or project manager, program manager, I was on the hook to make sure that project was not delayed and it was on schedule, on budget, right? Those are the two responsibilities. Incentives do not delay anything to the design or construction process. They are simply there to reward whatever is input into the design process and whatever is installed during the construction process. They don't delay the schedule. It's just a set of data that says, look, for this project, you can expect these cost savings as a thank you for going above basic building code, okay? The other thing is, because there's cost savings that are being flushed to your owner, developer, or tenant, you can help them stay on budget, which is pretty massive, right? Maybe you're on the design side or consulting with during the design phases. You know that you're on the hook to help and make sure that your owner, developer, or tenant is achieving their design or sustainability goals, right? So our cost saving incentives help ensure that. And the most exciting part that I know a lot of our architecture and engineering firms come back to IncentiFind and use this over and over again is because we have helped avoid value engineering, all the hard work they did to embed these wonderful sustainable measures during the design process. They get to keep them and not see them value engineered out when the budget gets tight. And the last bit, this is hands down why most GCs are working with IncentiFind, and the list continues to grow. We create well-funded projects. So if you are absolutely tired of, having your owner's rep or your owner nickel and dime everything you're doing and, trying to go for that lowest bid, come to IncentiFind. Let us flush some additional cost savings. It's going to add more to the contingency budget. It's going to add, less stress to the nickel and diming. Alrighty, so now you know about our database. You've heard the benefits to the different types of, personas on a construction project, right? And, at the end of the day, what is IncentiFind selling? What are we doing? What is the process that we leverage to connect any property in the United States to cost saving incentives and ensure they show up on a project, right? Well, we sell one product, and you'll see our process here in a second, and we have one service. Essentially, we're here to provide turnkey incentive services. We can answer to you, the affiliate, at the end of the day. We don't need a seat at the table with the owner. So, you can submit the 2-minute survey. You can select which product is right for your owner. There's really only two. Either you're going to be looking to purchase a verify report for a single building because you're working on a single building, or you're going to select the portfolio because you have multiple buildings. Maybe it's a multi-building development, a large corporate campus, a large university campus, or real estate portfolio for capital improvement planning, right? There's only one of two types of reports you can buy at IncentiFind. On behalf of your owner, know that no affiliate has ever absorbed our verify report or portfolio report pricing. You might purchase it on behalf of your owner just because it's easy from a procurement standpoint, but you are not absorbing these fees. You're billing them shortly after you purchase it on their behalf. And I'll show you that here in a second. So that's the one product we sell. It's a product that lists all available incentives from those 5 levels of government using your 2-minute survey to show you what the project's eligible for, okay? The one service we have is called Apply Services or Get Connected. Once your owner, developer, or tenant know what they're eligible for, because the report shows them, right? They get to cherry pick all the incentives. If you don't want your owner, developer, or tenant cherry picking the incentives because maybe they're easily distracted, that's fine. Go ahead, let us run that cherry picking session with you. You know your owner, developer, or tenant better than anybody else. And you can say, IncentiFind, go ahead and keep the incentive for lighting and HVAC only. Toss everything else. I think the electric vehicles and solar are exciting, but I need to keep this particular client focused. Once you cherry pick those incentives and you know they're right for the project, we can do the fulfillment. The difficulty of finding incentives in the wild, the difficulty of displaying the eligibility in a nice, neat report, we've overcome a lot of those complexities, but it doesn't just stop there. There's one last hurdle that you're going to want IncentiFind for, and that is the applications. These are heavy lifts. You don't want to be on the hook for billing your client for hours of work to navigate, filling out the application, coordinating inspections, grabbing appropriate photographs. The IncentiFind works with so many utility companies nationwide. We know how to navigate this, make it seamless. And I'll talk about how there's no upfront cost for this. We work on the back end through a success fee. The last bit is we don't do anything tax incentive wise in-house. We've partnered with so many different tax firms. So the takeaway here is that IncentiFind is not going to present incentives to you or your client and get them excited, all to leave them hanging. We're going to be there again to make sure there's turnkey services available, in that we can identify an eligible incentive, help them pick the right one for their project, maximize the incentives, and capture it. That's kind of it at the end of the day. All right, let's put together this in a process, okay? So here's our 3-step process. No, it does not disrupt your design process, your construction process, your sales process. It's a pretty quick process. Again, let's wear your affiliate hat as we go through this. You're more than likely going to be on the hook to do the 2-minute survey. It's not that big of a deal. You log into IncentiFind.com, fill out the survey, and you're off to the races, right? In that, please know that once you place that survey into IncentiFind.com, it stays solely between you, literally the person that filled out the survey, not your team, not your company, just the person that filled out the survey, and IncentiFind. We don't sell this information to third parties. And it's because of the way we've monetized our last 2 steps that we don't have to sell this to third parties. And now your client's getting phone calls from, prospective other consultants, other architects, other engineers, other general contractors, other installers. We don't want that happening. Remember, I came from the owner's rep world, so I understand that. So you're going to be on the hook to pop in that 2-minute survey. Of course, we're going to tell you how much a project that like yours could see as far as incentives. We're going to break it down for you. We're going to show you how much could that project see in cash reimbursements from rebate programs, or how much could they see from tax related incentives. Both tell a very different story. We know that's important. We're going to send that to you once you submit the 2-minute survey. So again, 2 minutes, you've completed step 1. Step 2, you're going to purchase the Verify report on behalf of your owner. I think out of the hundreds of affiliates we have, one sends the payment to the owner and the owner submits it. So it is very common that you're going to zip through, pay this upfront fee, $500 per building, right? It's not a lot. It's a flat fee no matter what size building or project it is. It's not meant to be a barrier, but you're going to pay that fee, bill your owner on the back end, right? It's incredibly common. We'll produce the Verify report, and you tell us who we're going to answer to at the end of the day. Maybe it's just you. Maybe you want to completely curate your client's experience and you want to know what the results are first. That's fine. We can absolutely share the report with you, have the phone call and review just with you and your team. You can figure out how best to present that to your owner. And then once you do, let us know, because your client probably is not going to want to do the application fulfillment. They're probably not going to want you to do that either, especially at a billable rate. So you can know that IncentiFind is there to completely do the heavy lifting in our apply services. Let's talk about the success fee, okay? It is not an upfront fee. So let's just use a basic scenario. Everyone knows lighting, so I'm going to use lighting. Let's pretend that you you fill out a 2-minute survey for a hotel. Let's use Houston because that's where we're headquartered. A hotel in Houston. You buy the $500 fee, $500 report on behalf of your developer. You're the, let's just say you're the architect. And you identify that, while all the other incentives are very exciting, you need to keep your client focused just on the low hanging fruit. We're going to go with the lighting incentive. So you end up presenting that, and the client says, absolutely, let's go after the lighting incentive. For square numbers, let's just say it's worth $100. Obviously, we deal with far more at IncentiFind, but let's just say it's $100. We will go fill out the application, grab the appropriate documents, the construction documents, the construction schedule, the invoices, the specifications. You wouldn't believe how many documents we needed IncentiFind to grab and prove that your client is installing this above code measure to get this cash back from one of the 5 levels of government, right? So we will submit that application, coordinate any inspections. You are not touching this project. They are not touching that project. We're doing all of this on your behalf. Once the $100 is earmarked, the only thing we wait for is the lighting to be installed. So long as the lighting is installed, that $100 is now belongs to your client at the end of the day. And we will send that check to them. We pull $25 out of that 100. In other words, we only get paid out of what we successfully capture on their behalf. Let me run one quick scenario because we get asked this a lot. Well, IncentiFind, what happens if that lighting ends up getting value engineered out? And you already did the application, you already did the inspections, you did all the legwork to earmark those $100. Does the client owe you $25 at the end of the day if they end up value engineering that out? And the answer is no. No, that's why our fee is 25%, right? So we know that anything can happen in design and construction. We're here to de-risk that at the end of the day. So, if there are additional questions, please know you're going to have time at the end of this presentation. So that's our 3-step process. Right now, I want to hand it over to Grace. Grace Bennett is our commercial sector lead. She is overseeing the production of every single Verify report to date. She has an entire army of researchers under her belt who live and breathe updating all of the